Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a fascinating one for you today.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to unpacking this.
Yeah, so our mission today is to look at a highly specialized public university, specifically the Ion Mincu University of Architecture and Urban Planning in Bucharest, Romania.
Right. And it's a perfect case study.
It really is,
Yeah.
because we are looking at how a single institution's, like its 150-year identity crisis, basically maps the whole global evolution of how we build our world.
Exactly. It's not just a timeline of a school, it's a timeline of human priorities.
Yeah. And to do this, we're pulling from what is honestly a pretty concentrated stack of information. We're using a Wikipedia entry about this institution. And there's a really interesting contradiction right off the bat with our source material.
The stub classification.
Yes. Officially, Wikipedia classifies this page as a stub, a brief article that needs community expansion.
Right. It's flagged.
Yeah, it relies almost entirely on just one single citation, a vaguely titled historical background reference. And this is the wild part hidden in this really brief text, and especially in the extensive geographical lists attached to it, there's just a massive amount of data.
Oh, totally. Data about the evolution of architectural education and this sprawling, hyper-specialized geography of higher education in Romania.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how that single evolutionary timeline documents a profound shift, even in its abbreviated form.
Exactly. Because the changing names of this one institution, they don't just tell the story of one school in Bucharest. They mirror the global mutation of architecture.
From this gritty utilitarian engineering task in the 19th century.
Right, into a nuanced cultural discipline, and then finally into this comprehensive study of urbanism studies.
Yeah, by tracking these name changes, we're essentially tracking the modernization of Eastern Europe.
It's a window into the culture.
It is. So let's start by grounding this institution in its modern reality. Like, what is this place today? Today, it operates as a public university dedicated exclusively to architecture and urbanism studies.
And it bears the name of Ion Mincu.
Right. And the text gives us a very brief, but I think vital detail about Mincu himself. It identifies him as both an architect and an engineer.
Which is such a crucial detail.
I thought so too. That dual classification seems highly deliberate for a school of this caliber.
Oh, it's a crucial philosophical anchor for them. Naming the premier architectural institution of Romania after someone who bridged those two specific fields, it encapsulates the eternal tension at the heart of the built environment.
The tension between art and science.
Exactly. Because, traditionally, the architect is viewed through the lens of aesthetics. Right? Cultural expressions, spatial psychology, human flow.
Yeah, how a building feels.
Exactly. But the engineer is bound to the immutable laws of physics, material science, structural integrity, mathematics.
The building has to actually stand up.
Right. So by choosing a namesake who mastered both the aesthetic and the practical, the university establishes a really clear pedagogical mandate.
They're sending a message.
A huge message to prospective students, to the city itself. They're saying true architectural mastery requires the synthesis of both. Because a building that's beautiful but structurally unsound, that's a hazard.
And dangerous.
But a building that's structurally perfect and totally devoid of human consideration, that's a prism. So Ion Mincu, as a figurehead, represents that necessary equilibrium.
That makes total sense. And the source also anchors the university physically, giving us the exact coordinates, which are 44 degrees, 26 minutes, 11 seconds north, and 26 degrees, 6 minutes, 0 seconds east.
Very precise.
Right. But more practically for you walking down the street, it places the listener right at 18 to 20 Academy Street in Sector 1 of Bucharest, postal code 010014.
Sector 1, that's key.
Yeah, because Sector 1 is traditionally the administrative and historical core of the capital. And being on a street literally named Academy Street, that suggests this isn't just relegated to some sprawling, modernized campus out in the suburbs, right?
Oh, no, not at all. It's woven directly into the old world urban fabric. And that location is a pedagogical tool in itself.
How so?
Well, street names in historic European capitals carry immense weight. To study architecture on Academy Street means the city itself is your primary laboratory.
Oh, I love that. You just walk outside.
Exactly. Students walk out of their studios, and they are immediately confronted with the layered architectural history of Bucharest. You've got 19th century neoclassical structures, mid-century functionalism, right down to modern infill.
It's all right there.
The institution is positioned as part of the city's central nervous system. It maintains this physical presence in the intellectual and cultural center of gravity.
And that presence presence is firmly established digitally, too. The text notes the current rector is Marian Moisianu, and it gives the official domain, which is uaimd.tro.
Which is a nice grounding detail.
Yeah, because we are about to dive deep into some 19th century historical shifts. But this reminds us it remains a functioning modern bureaucracy.
Right.
There's a rector currently managing budgets, faculty, thousands of students navigating the complexities of contemporary design.
And that acronym itself, UAUIM, the Universitatea de Arhitectură, Urbanism, Ion Mincu. It's the modern consolidation of a really turbulent history. It basically packages 150 years of shifting academic philosophy into a neat digital age identifier.
Yeah. And that history is detailed in a timeline of name changes provided in our source. So let's analyze that progression.
Let's do it.
It starts with its inception in 1864 as the School of Bridges and Roads, Mines, and Architecture.
Which is quite the mouthful.
Right. But grouping architecture with heavy infrastructure and subterranean extraction, that's a very specific way of categorizing human knowledge.
It tells you everything you need to know about the mid-19th century mindset, especially in a nation undergoing rapid modernization.
Right.
Because in 1864, the primary imperative of the state was physical nation building.
Laying tracks and building bridges.
Exactly. Laying down railway networks, bridging rivers to connect disparate regions, extracting raw resources from the earth to fuel industrial growth. In that context, building construction was viewed primarily as a utilitarian necessity.
It wasn't about making things pretty.
No, architecture wasn't codified in this region yet as a standalone fine art or a specialized social science. It was just the final, pragmatic step in the industrial supply chain.
Right. You extract the stone from the mine, you move it down the road, and you stack it up to house the workers or the machinery.
Exactly. Lumping architecture at the end of that list reflects a society that is focused on survival and rapid industrialization over aesthetic theory.
But then the timeline shows a huge pivot 40 years later. In 1904, it becomes the Higher School of Architecture.
A big step.
And then in 1931, it evolves into the Academy of Architecture. The bridges, roads, and mines are completely stripped away.
And this transition is the moment architecture essentially declares its independence.
Right.
Shedding that heavy engineering moniker signals a massive shift in societal values. The culture is effectively stating that designing the built environment is no longer merely a subset of civil engineering.
It's its own thing now.
Yes. It has matured into a distinct, respected discipline that requires its own dedicated pedagogical space.
And changing from a higher school in 1904 to an academy in 1931, that elevates its status profoundly, doesn't it?
Oh, profoundly. The term academy carries the historical weight of Plato's Grove. It implies a space not just for technical instruction, but for philosophical and intellectual discourse.
The vibe completely shifts.
Totally. By 1931, Bucharest was heavily influenced by Western European cultural movements. People colloquially referred to it as Little Paris.
Right, Little Paris.
So adopting the title of academy aligned the institution with the highest levels of European cultural prestige. They weren't just teaching structural integrity anymore, they were fostering the aesthetic and cultural identity of the nation.
Wow. Okay, so then the next major date listed in the source's info box is November 14th, 1952.
1952.
Yeah, making it over 70 years old under this lineage. The institution is renamed the Ion Mincu Institute of Architecture, and it held that name for nearly half a century, up until the year 2000.
That is a long era.
The shift from academy to institute in the early 50s, that carries some heavy geopolitical connotations for Eastern Europe, doesn't it?
It really does. The mid-century adoption of the institute model is a hallmark of post-war Soviet bloc educational centralization.
Because an academy sounds a bit too free-thinking.
Exactly. An academy implies a certain level of artistic individualism and philosophical wandering. An institute, however, implies a highly structured, state-sponsored, research-driven apparatus.
Right.
During this era, the state required rapid, standardized solutions for urban housing and infrastructure following the devastation of the Second World War. The educational focus shifted towards systematization, functionalism, and collective urban planning dictated by central authorities.
So the state needed a machine to produce architects who could build what the state wanted.
Essentially, yes. And the fact that the school operated under this specific institutional banner for almost 50 years means that multiple generations of Romanian architects were trained under a singular, cohesive, state-aligned educational philosophy.
This was the era of all those massive massive concrete modernization projects.
Exactly, the complete restructuring of urban spaces across the country.
Which brings us to the final evolution documented in the text. In the year 2000, it becomes the Ion Mincu University of Architecture and Urban Planning.
The modern iteration.
Yeah, adding urban planning or urbanism studies to the title at the dawn of the 21st century. That suggests the definition of architecture had expanded way beyond just the footprint of a single building.
This raises an important question, right? Why add urbanism in the year 2000? It's an acknowledgement of modern complexity. For over a century, teaching a student how to design a singular, beautiful, functional structure was sufficient.
Just design a good house or office.
Right. But by 2000, post-communist cities were dealing with unprecedented challenges. Chaotic urban sprawl, the privatization of land, complex traffic networks, environmental degradation, shifting social zoning.
It's all connected.
It became dangerously inadequate to design a building in a vacuum. A modern architect has to understand how their structure interacts with the broader ecological and sociological ecosystem of the city.
Right, you can't just drop a skyscraper in the middle of a neighborhood without thinking about traffic or shadows.
Exactly. So incorporating urbanism into the very name of the university expands its mandate from creating isolated objects to managing the continuous living fabric of human settlement.
That is such a fascinating narrative to extract from a Wikipedia page that, as we noted earlier, is officially flagged as a stub.
It's remarkable, honestly.
It really is. The source material features these prominent warning banners. One notes that it needs additional citations for verification.
Standard Wikipedia fare, but important.
Yeah. Another states that it relies largely or entirely on a single source, which is that mysteriously vague historical background citation. And the page itself was last edited in August 2025.
That meta-narrative of the source material offers a profound lesson in information literacy and really the fragility of digital history.
So what does this all mean for the listener?
Well, think about it. We are analyzing an institution that has educated thousands of professionals over 150 years. Professionals who have literally shaped the physical reality of a European nation.
Built the cities.
Yes. Yet its primary English language digital footprint relies on a single pillar of verification. It's a stark reminder that institutional memory is not automatically preserved in the digital age.
It has to be actively curated.
Exactly. It requires active curation. When you rely on quick digital summaries, you are almost always reading an incomplete draft of history, subject to the whims of volunteer editors and the availability of digitized, translated documents.
And the translation aspect is particularly notable here. The source mentions the articles available in 9 languages.
9?
Yeah, Belarusian, German, French, Hebrew, Italian, Romanian, Russian, Simple English, and Slovak.
That specific linguistic footprint is very telling. It reflects historical and regional academic cross-pollination.
How so?
Well, French and German are the historic languages of European architectural academia. They were deeply influential in Romania's 19th and 20th century development. Russian and Belarusian reflect the geopolitical realities of the 20th century and regional proximity.
Right, the Soviet-era influence.
Yes. And the presence of Hebrew may point to connections with the Romanian Jewish diaspora and their contributions to the field.
That makes a lot of sense.
But however you look at it, even with this multilingual presence, the core English text remains undercited, which illustrates the persistent gaps in global digital knowledge transfer.
It's a great point. But the source material doesn't limit itself to Ion Mincu or just Bucharest. Attached to the article is this massive, geographically organized index of the entire higher education landscape of Romania.
The regional lists.
Yes. And analyzing this list recontextualizes the Ion Mincu University entirely. Let's look at the Bucharest-Ilfov region first. The sheer density of specialization is remarkable.
Bucharest basically operates as the ultimate centralized hub of specialized knowledge. The list reveals a hyper-fragmented academic ecosystem.
Totally. We see the General University of Bucharest and the Polytechnic University, but then the specialization just fractures into these highly specific domains.
Right.
There's the University of Economic Studies, the Carol de Villa University of Medicine and Pharmacy, a dedicated National University of Music, a University of Agronomical Sciences and Veterinary Medicine, and various military and defense academies like the Police Academy.
It's incredible.
But most notably, for our deep dive, there is a Technical University of Civil Engineering that's completely separate from the Ion Mincu University of Architecture and Urban Planning.
And that separation is the ultimate physical manifestation of the 1904 timeline pivot we discussed earlier.
Oh, right, when they dropped the bridges and roads?
Yeah, exactly. In 1864, civil engineering and architecture were housed under one roof. Today, the engineers who calculate the load-bearing capacities of bridges have their own dedicated university, while the architects shaping the urban experience have theirs.
They split the disciplines physically.
The capital city's academic structure reflects the complete bifurcation of the discipline. If you want to study a field at its most granular, elite level in Romania, Bucharest provides a dedicated, standalone institution for it.
And moving beyond the capital, the source takes us on a conceptual tour that reveals how decentralized and pragmatic the rest of the higher education system is.
The regions have their own distinct identities.
Exactly. In the center region, which corresponds to Transylvania, we see institutions like the 1 December 1918 University in Alba Iulia, Transylvania University in Brașov, and Lucian Blaga University in Sibiu.
Classic historical institutions.
Yeah, but a distinct pattern of multiculturalism emerges here. In Mercuria Suk and Targu Murray, the list includes the Sapientia Hungarian University of Transylvania.
The academic landscape in Transylvania is a direct reflection of its complex demographic history. Higher education there is not a monolith.
No, definitely not.
The presence of institutions like Sapientia highlights a system designed to serve specific linguistic and cultural minority populations that have shaped the region for centuries. It demonstrates how universities act as preservers of regional identity.
Offering parallel academic tracks.
Exactly, parallel tracks that maintain the multi-ethnic fabric of the area.
And we see that same cultural depth in the Northeast region, particularly in Ion, the historical capital of Moldavia.
Ion is a powerhouse.
It is. Alongside the prestigious Alexandru Ioan Cuza University and various technical and medical schools, the list explicitly includes the Roman Catholic Theological Institute and the Tifan Lupecu Institute of European Studies.
EI has long maintained a reputation as the intellectual and theological heartland of the region. While Bucharest focuses heavily on statecraft, defense, and technical specialization, the clustering of theological and European integration studies in AI points to a regional focus on philosophy, religion, and broader cultural identity.
The universities reflect the historical character of the city.
Exactly. They mirror the soul of the region.
This pattern of geographic academic determinism becomes undeniable when we look at the South and the Southeast.
Yeah.
In the South, specifically in Ploiedi, the primary institution listed is the Oil and Gas University.
Ploiedi is situated in Prahova County, which is the historic epicenter of Romania's petroleum extraction and refining industry, dating all the way back to the 19th century.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it went back that far.
It does, and it's a prime example of a state aligning its educational infrastructure directly with its subterranean resources. The university exists to provide a highly specialized, localized workforce to sustain the region's primary economic engine.
So the geography dictates the academia.
Entirely.
We see the exact same phenomenon on the coast.
In Constania, located on the Black Sea, the specialized institutions are the Mircea Silvestran Naval Academy and the Maritime University.
Exactly as we see in Ploiedi. If a region is defined by the sea, the state builds naval and maritime academies to dominate that environment. If a region sits on oil reserves, it builds an extraction university.
It's just so practical.
It is. While universities are often associated with abstract theoretical knowledge, this map proves that they are ultimately born out of the physical, economic realities of their immediate surroundings.
The map fills out with major comprehensive hubs in the west and northwest, too. Cluj-Napoca mirrors Bucharest in its scale, boasting the massive Babe Bolya University alongside specialized medical, agricultural, and arts universities.
A huge academic center. Yeah. And it also features a striking theological diversity, listing both a Greek Catholic and a Protestant theological institute. And then Timisoara serves as the western anchor with its own Polytechnica, medical, and life sciences universities.
Right.
When you lay this entire map out, from the maritime schools of the coast to the multicultural hubs of Transylvania, it brings our focus right back to Academy Street.
It does. Reviewing the national landscape really underscores the unique position of the Ion Mincu University. Almost every major regional city has a general university, a technical institute, and perhaps a medical or agricultural college.
Right. They all have the basics.
But there is only one standalone, highly specialized public university dedicated entirely to architecture and urban planning at this premier level, and it is positioned squarely in the center of the capital.
It stands alone.
It serves as the singular beacon for how the nation conceptualizes and constructs its built environment.
We have extracted a massive narrative from a single self-proclaimed Wikipedia stub today.
We really did pull a lot out of that.
We traced the timeline of the Ion Mincu University from its purely utilitarian industrial origins in 1864, watched it shed its engineering moniker to embrace cultural prestige as an academy,
Right.
observed its consolidation during the Cold War as an institute, and finally saw it adapt to the complexities of the 21st century by officially incorporating urban planning into its identity.
And we also navigated the realities of digital information preservation, noting how the profound history of an entire nation's architectural development can balance precariously on a single digital citation.
It reminds us to always question the depth and source of the digital summaries we consume.
Absolutely.
And we zoomed out to contextualize this single school within a sprawling, geographically determined academic ecosystem. From the petroleum engineers in Ploiești to the naval cadets in Constanta, the landscape of Romanian higher education proves that universities are mirrors of their local environments.
They reflect what's around them.
Exactly. For you listening today, the takeaway is clear. The next time you encounter an academic institution, look closely at its name, its location, and its history. The way a society categorizes and names its educational pillars tells you precisely what that society values, what it fears, and how it plans to survive.
Which leaves us with a provocative thought regarding the future.
Oh, I like where this is going.
We've seen how the definition of building evolved from bridges and mines to architecture and finally to urban planning. As we face an era defined by climate adaptation, the integration of artificial intelligence into spatial design, and the increasing overlap between physical cities and virtual environments, what will the next evolution of an architecture school look like?
That's a great question.
Will urban planning be a sufficient framework for the realities of tomorrow? Or are we on the verge of a completely new, as yet unnamed discipline that will redefine how we inhabit the world?
It certainly changes how you look at the buildings around you. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into architectural history, urbanism studies, and the academic map of Romania. Until next time, keep exploring the hidden depths of the information around you.